Hello, and welcome to Around the Political World with John Rothman. I am your host, John Rothman. If you're a fan of the show, make sure to hit the follow button on the top right of Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you are listening at this very moment. When you hit follow, leave a review or share an episode with a friend. It helps other people discover the show, keeps us going, and as I like to point out each and every day, it expands our base. Joe Biden appeared with George Stephanopoulos on Friday evening. We were all glued to what transpired between the two of them. And this is what we learned. The appearance with George Stephanopoulos was not enough. It did not convince those who are skeptics about Joe Biden that he is the man of the hour. More than that, in a stunning statement, Joe Biden said he was not willing to go through a cognitive test analysis. He said, doing the job is enough. No, it isn't, Joe. And I say this as a supporter, as someone who has worked for you, helped you, advocated for you. It is not enough. Perhaps the whole issue is encapsulated in a cartoon in this morning's San Francisco Chronicle. The image, and this is by Jack Oman, the image is a screen, a television screen, a second Trump presidency and the end of the rule of law, with Joe Biden and Kamala Harris seated together. And Kamala is nudging him, saying, Joe, wake up. And that's the point. When I concluded my commentary last week, some said, but John, are you supporting Trump? And the answer is absolutely not. I would not support Trump for president under any circumstances. But, and it's important to note, you can't beat somebody with nobody. Now, Joe Biden is not nobody, but there is a problem. The problem is that the American people do not have confidence that he can serve a full 4 years. More than that, there is a belief that based on his performance during the joint appearance, I won't call it a debate because it wasn't, and based on his response on the George Stephanopoulos interview on ABC, Joe Biden just is not up to the task. And that's a problem. This week, NATO meets in Washington, and Ukraine will be on the agenda. We know that Russia used its newest supersonic weapon in Kiev and caused great damage to a children's hospital. We know that the allies are nervous, skittish about what will happen to NATO if Donald Trump is reelected. We know that it is a critical aspect of world security that the United States is not only part of NATO, but an active participant in the battle against global warming. And although no one's talking about it, just take a look at the heat that we are now taking everywhere in the world. This is not a good sign. And so the Democrats have a decision to make. I listened carefully to Jerry Nadler, member of the House of Representatives, who is a leading Democrat, a supporter of Joe Biden, raising questions about whether Joe Biden is up to the job. Do you understand you cannot have a president of the United States who is not up to the job? And the minute the Biden people talked about a situation where he might have to retire by 8 o'clock at night, I thought to myself, boy, oh boy, do you remember the ad? The ad that was taken out? What happens if there's a crisis in the middle of the night? No, there is a serious issue here, and the Democrats have to confront it. This weekend, I was hit with questions repeatedly about Kamala Harris. And let me, again, say this without any hesitancy. If Joe Biden withdraws, Kamala Harris will be the Democratic nominee for president. And now is the time for her to begin the process of presenting herself to the American people. The Democratic Party has to make a decision. Oh, I know everybody said it's Joe Biden's decision. But let me remind you, and I do it because this is the time to do it, that Barry Goldwater, the senior Republican in the Senate in terms of his being Mr. Conservative, Mr. Republican, the nominee of the party in 1964, went down to the White House with Hugh Scott, the Senate leader of the Republicans, and John Rhodes, the Republican leader in the House of Representatives, to meet with Richard Nixon on August 7th, 1974. And they explained to him delicately, gently, that it was over. Barry Goldwater answered Nixon's question, "Barry, how many votes do I have in the Senate?" by saying, "At most 6, Mr. President, and I'm not one of them." When I say this to you, it is up to the Democratic Party leadership to deliver the message. It's not that we don't love Joe Biden. It's not that Joe Biden has not been a great president, but it is that the most important single thing, as the ad indicates, we have to respond. And we're going to see it in all the ads that are taken out in this campaign of 2024. If Biden is the nominee, the Republicans will saturate the airwaves with Biden looking weak and indecisive. No, he needs to confront reality. When I cited a cartoon in this morning's Chronicle, a second Trump presidency and the end of the rule of law, and the caption of Kamala turning to Biden and saying, "Joe, wake up," that's what has to happen. Let me make this absolutely clear. A Donald Trump in a second term scares me. It scares me legitimately. I had discussions this week with some who said, well, when he talks about revenge and retribution, he doesn't really mean it. Yes, he does. And let's be clear, when Sean Hannity, a friend of Donald Trump, tried to get him to back down from the comment, Trump would not do it. That's not the kind of president this country needs. And so we, as a people, will make vital decisions in this election campaign. Make no mistake, Donald Trump is on the ballot, and the opposition to him must be effective, sound, and vigorous. Joe Biden has to ask himself the question. Nobody can take him out but himself. And may I say, as someone who has voted for Joe Biden, worked for Joe Biden, likes Joe Biden, this is the time, Joe, when you've got to make a decision. And this is critical to the future of the United States of America. Thanks for tuning into another episode of Around the Political World with John Rothman. Make sure to follow along. Let me know your thoughts on the show by leaving a review on Apple Podcasts and sharing an episode with a friend or colleague so we can continue to grow. And we want your comments. Please go to LinkedIn or Facebook. Let me know what you think. Many of you contact me, and I want you to know how much I appreciate the feedback. And finally, I have to thank Gogo Zoger. She is the producer of this podcast and does a great job. And now to all of you, we'll watch the news today. This week, it should be a critical week in the history of American politics. By the way, not to mention the fact that Donald Trump will probably choose a vice presidential running mate shortly. Oh my, we're going to have a lot to talk about right here on Around the Political World with John Rothman.